Good morning. Wait for this thing. It's always slow this morning. Good morning, everyone. Hi, this is Stacy. We are loving my veteran, and this is walking in our shoes this Friday morning. Coffee is a must. Oh, he made it super sweet too. It's really good. Mm. So, just a few things before we get started. Let's see, we have so much going on. Carl made coffee this morning. Kudos to my veteran in our victory wall. It's amazing. I'm a little slow this morning, so I just want to say good morning to everybody. Lots of stuff going on. We had an amazing Let's Talk last night, like we always do. We really delved into some deeper topics that were a little uncomfortable. When we started talking about medications and that kind of stuff that we're going through. So, that's going on. Don't forget the letters that we really do need you to write. The project is now called Project Your Voice. We're going to be able to take everything out to a national level on issues or good things. We need both that you're experiencing or your spouse, significant other has experienced with the VA. It is very important so we can get good research to be able to go forward to see where the breakdown is because we're the voice for our veterans. And so it's called Project Your Voice, and it's the way to get your voice and your veterans' voice heard. There'll be more coming out on that today. There's a new website, everything that all goes together. And I really just encourage all of you to participate. So let's get into and delve into, good morning, Jen. Let's get in and dig into relationships. We're going to get obviously into a lot of these topics in more detail. We were kind of just skimming the top of the ice here. But in order to have a healthy living relationship, you have to know, respect, and understand each other's limitations. Okay, you have to know, respect, and understand each other's limitations. You can't ask somebody to do something that they physically or mentally cannot do. You cannot ask them or expect that. They cannot expect that from you. So you have to know, understand, and respect each other's limitations. That's hard, because we all dream of this perfect thing. And when we get in this competitive world, because it's the world of keeping up with the Joneses, as I like to say it, so you see your neighbor's husband out doing this or doing that, and he's such a good dad, and he does this, and he takes the kids to soccer, and or whatever. And he goes grocery shopping with her every day, and your veteran can't go to the grocery store, right, because it just puts him in a place. You can't expect that. Okay, you cannot expect that. You have to know, respect, and understand each other's limitations. It is, good morning, Leah. It is very important that you get that. We all have limitations. They, on turn, also have to expect ours. Morning, Sunny. So we have limitations, they have limitations, and in order to grow a happy, stronger, healthier, loving relationship, whether it is with yourself, because that's where it starts, and then goes on out to your veteran, your spouse, your children, your parents, your friends, we have to understand it. So we have limitations. Some of them are physical limitations, some of them are mental limitations, some of them are financial limitations. Morning, Stephanie. Some of them they're just there. They're limitations. And you have to know, respect, and understand them. For example, I used to run 10 miles a day, or 2 miles a day. I loved it. Loved it. It was everything I wanted. It cleared my head. It did all these things. And then the doctor says, no more running, right? So I'm never going to run a marathon. That is a limitation I have. Okay? I have to learn that running used to be my outlet. Running used to be my thing. And that was a limitation now that I have that I can't do. So I have to learn to accept that in order to grow a healthier, happier relationship with me. I could sit here and I could wallow in this self-pity and say, oh, poor Stacy, she can never run again. She can't go to the gym again. She can't do all powerlifting again. She can't do all this stuff again. And so now her life is over and she can sit here, but she's not going to be whole because she can't do that. No, you have to suck it up and move on. But now I know that's a limitation. I can't do that. So we have to accept our limitations and we have to respect them. Okay, it doesn't make me lazy or unable to do stuff. It's just no, it's a limitation I now have. You know, my granddaddy only had one leg, and you know, we talked about that many times that his leg was amputated. But take, you know, somebody who has a radical amputation. I'm not talking about a veteran in particular that has a radical amputation that cannot wear prosthesis because there's not enough stub there to put it onto. And you're a marathon runner. You can't look at that person and say, if you really love me, you're going to run a marathon, because that limitation is physically there. Okay, that limitation is physically there. So you can't use the analogy, if you love me, you will, when there's a physical or emotional limitation that doesn't let that happen. You can't do that. And we can't do that to ourselves. Because when you try to get to a limitation and overcome a limitation, you are setting yourself up for failure. You are. There's no denying it. You know, Carl and I watch a lot of Gold Rush, and you know, we watch this, and so they got the little mini dozer that they use, or the little mini excavator that pizzles out a little bit to run a plant for a test site. Right, well, you're not going to run, morning Michelle, you're not going to run the entire plant and whatever their numbers is, 300 yards a day using a bucket that gets a yard. It's not going to happen. That's a physical limitation. It's a physical limitation. So you can't expect to wash all this dirt if you can't physically do it. It's a limitation. So we have to learn to know them and expect them and go on. So now we're going to talk about the PTSD side in our, you know, one of the biggest things I hear is they don't know how to show empathy. How come he can't see I'm in a mood? How come he doesn't read my feelings? How come he doesn't just hug me when I need it? How come she doesn't do this? That's one of the biggest things I hear. One of the biggest things I think all of us hear that are in all these groups, and we read them. We're not dumb. We all read them. Okay? Because currently, as the war fighter, as the person that went into combat, that is trained out of them. So you can't expect them. You can't expect them to come home and show you love and empathy and, oh, my poor baby, I'm so sorry. I love you so much. I'm sorry that you did. You can't expect that because it's trained out of them. And I'm not saying all veterans, but that's one of the things that a lot of them pop up, and that's one of the signs. You can't expect that to be trained out of them. As your relationship grows and your communication gets better, and as they understand empathy, you can find a happy medium. I can't run 2 miles a day, but Carl and I can go for a walk. Okay, so you see the analogy there? I can't run 2 miles a day, but we can go for a walk. He may not always be able to pick up on every single thing that I have. Yes, and it does happen years after deployment. When PTSD shows up, it just shows up. And they shut down. And the realization is they realize they were never the person they were before. But Carl and I can go for a walk. Michelle and I were talking about that this morning. You know, we can be angry. Anger and bitterness, they do all kinds of things. And I go back and I think of the situations, you know, okay, so can I be angry that I can't be on an ambulance? Yes. Can I be angry that I have this thing going on? Yes. Can I be angry that they're almost 100% sure that all of this crap came from water at a military base? Yes. But is it going to change the outcome? No, we have to start and we have to go on and we have to sit here and say we can't wallow in the self-pity. And in Stephanie's case, that PTSD showed up 15 years later. When they start showing you a little bit of empathy, and Nikia's right, we complain because it's not enough. Well, he asked me what was wrong today, but I really wanted a hug. Okay, so he's never asked you what's wrong in the last 3 years. And today he could see there was something bother you, but he couldn't wrap his arms around you. Take the hug, count it as a victory, and that's the mustard seed that moves on to the next level. That's what moves on to the next level. Okay, so you have to understand the physical and mental limitations that people have. We all have them. We all get to a burnout point. We all have things we cannot do. I am terrified of heights. Terrified. If I can see down through my feet, I'm not going there. I don't care how good that roller coaster is. I don't care how spectacular the view is from wherever we're standing. I don't give a squat. I am not going anywhere. It's not going to happen. I grew up, I'm a fourth generation, worked in the shipyard, was the fourth generation, and I worked on an aircraft carrier, and we were building a new build, and it was the Lincoln, and this was a long time ago because the Lincoln's had its overall, so I can tell you how old that is. Hang on, I'm going to the store with you. I can go to the store. Sorry.
No worries.
Here.
I'm good.
So,
Not what it was.
as we go through our stuff, I'm on this carrier, right? And the Lincoln's got a solid deck. So I can see the solid deck, and I'm standing out over the water, and we're God knows how many stories off the water, and I'm great. Well, when we got done with the Lincoln, we got ready to do the Enterprise overhaul. And the Enterprise comes in, and I've been on the catwalks on the Lincoln 1,000 times, and I walk out on the Enterprise, and we're talking, and all of a sudden I look down, and I realize it's not a solid deck, it's grates. And I freak out. And I literally had to have my boss come get me because I was completely freaked out. Completely freaked out. You're not going to get me to do that. That's a limitation I have. And we all have them. I'm not going to do heights because I have them. So don't expect me to go stand on a bridge. As long as the bridge is solid, I'm good. But if it's one of them little grady things, not going to happen. Those are the limitations we have to have when we work in our relationships. We have to know our own limitations. We have to know our veterans' limitations. We have to know our children's limitations. We have to know our parents' limitations. But more, we have to know ours. And don't think that you are expected to do more than what your limitations are. That's it. You can't be something you're not. And that is so tough sometimes to deal with because we try to please people so often that we try to be something we're not. And when we live in this life being something we're not, when that's what we do, we're never going to achieve where we need to be. See, because the thing I didn't understand, I am 54 years old. I didn't understand it till I was with this man. I have to be good first. I have to be, in his words, solid first. And I thought I was being selfish. I mean, for all these years, I thought, oh my gosh, if you put Stacy first. And I'm not talking about spending money on Stacy. I'm talking about my mental state, my physical state, my emotional state. If that's not good first, you can't do anything else. You can't do anything else. It's like you may have this great brand new tire to go in your car because it's been riding rough and you think you need a new tire. And the problem is the rim is bent. I don't care what you do, it's still going to ride rough. Right? Because the core is bent. So if you can't deal and get your relationship with yourself intact, the rest of them aren't going to work. It took me a long time to figure that out.
You're welcome.
Thanks, honey. And it was because of him. You know, and we hear all the time. I hear all the time. I thought it in the beginning. He's broken. I'm the one who has to fix him. He's broken. I'm the one who has to do it. I have to do it all because he's broken. You know what? If you'd sit back and listen to them sometimes, I've learned more from the man with PTSD that in the beginning I said was broken. And in these groups that we all get in, and I'm not bashing any group in particular, but misery loves company. Okay, so I get in here with this stuff and it's going on and it's going on and it's going on, and in everybody's definition they're broken. And I'm telling you, I'm sure I got kicked out of this group. I can't wait to check, because I literally responded to somebody's post yesterday. If it's so flippin' bad and you've been in it for 10 years, why didn't you get out? Why are you telling sister who's been in it 2 months to get out if you've stayed in the misery for 10 years? You wallow in that misery. Come on, what's the reason behind that? Fix yourself. Don't be throwing rocks at anybody else till you fix yourself. You have to learn to love you first, or you're not going to love anybody else in this world. You have to work on your relationship with yourself. You have to accept. You got to give yourself grace to fail. You have to do that. That's a limitation. Perfection is not always achievable, because there's no such thing. You can make the perfect birthday cake. You can give the perfect speech. You can write the perfect paper. Look at world records that get broken. You can skate the perfect skating routine. You can do the perfect gymnastic routine, but somebody's always going to come along who does it better, even if it's yourself who does it better the next time. And that level of perfection, they rate them and say, oh, this was a perfect 10 across the board. Nadia Comaneci was the one who did it. You know, she was perfect. We heard that, and you guys are really going to know how old I am then. But she came along, and she was perfect. And I can remember those judges holding up those little 10 cards, because that was before all the digital stuff, right? They were holding up the 10 cards. And every gymnast in the world was measured to her. And then came Mary Lou Retton. And then came Mary Lou Retton, who blew Nadia Comaneci's perfect out of the water. He says, you know, we complain about them being broken, while excuses for everything they do. You can't have it both ways. You can't. We can always improve. We improve our relationship with ourselves. When we improve, and we can work on improving a relationship with them at the same time. But when we improve our relationship with ourselves, and we start feeling better about ourselves, guess what? We feel better about our relationship with them. And we look at those victories. We measure our life in those victories. Carl and I communicate no way like we did a year ago. No way. And we thought we had a great relationship a year ago. We now can talk about things we never dreamed possible. And that's taken a year to get there. Do we still have work to do? Absolutely. But we are talking and doing things that we never dreamed possible a year ago. Am I doing things today I never would have thought a year ago today that I'd be sitting here doing this with this amazing group of women and being part of this community and having the courage to stand up and say, I don't know it all, but it's wrong. And let me take a look inside of me, because I'm not telling y'all something I haven't already had to do. Those pills are tough pills to swallow. I'm only sharing with you our story. This is where we've been. I never would have dreamed that a year ago. I went back when I was downloading some stuff and I listened to the very first Walking in My Shoes I ever did. I didn't have the passion. I didn't have the knowledge. I didn't have the communication that I have today. I was terrified of my own voice. I still don't like it, but whatever. I was terrified. And then all of a sudden, we started seeing that it was motivating people, but it wasn't just motivating people, it was motivating me. It made me look at new topics and dig deeper and find out more about myself. I have healed more from doing this than every shrink in the country and every drug in the world. I healed over that. I healed because of that. And I'm still healing. Because the reality is, we're all broken. We just have different limitations. We're all broken. We just have different limitations. Limitations are things they can't change. They can learn them over time. They can evolve through them. They can get better. I go back to the guy that first lost his leg the very first time. He's laying there with the drains. Do you really think he's thinking about getting out of bed and running a marathon? No, he doesn't. He thinks his world is over. Then he gets past the drains and gets out of the self-pity and says, you know what? I'm going to do this. And he learns to walk without the limb and build up his upper body strength so he can use the crutches and do the stuff. And then he gets that first prosthesis, which is just kind of there. It doesn't fit him. It's not customized to him. I went back and my granddaddy died, and we cleaned out his closet, and I found his leg, the prosthesis, not the, anyway. It had big belts on it that strapped around his body. No wonder he didn't like it. But they learn to walk on the temporary. And then they get custom fitted. And then when they do more and they decide they want to run, they get the upgrade to that. It didn't happen overnight. But I assure you, his limitation was not running the Boston Marathon laying in the bed right after the amputation. There were a lot of steps that went along the way. There was a lot of work and a lot of rehab and a lot of self-growth and a lot of pushing his own limits out of the way. That's what leads you to winning the marathon and running a marathon without a leg. And that's what leads us to developing our life and our relationship is we have to currently work within our current limits. And then when we want to go past those limits, we have to find a way to get past them. It may not be the obvious. It may not be the obvious, but you get past that limit. So I can't run 2 miles, but I can go for a walk. And you know what I found interesting? And I love running, and I don't dispute anybody who runs. I love it. But when I started walking, I noticed the flowers I didn't notice when I was running. I noticed the birds I didn't see when I was running. I noticed the dew on the trees that I didn't notice. So it opened up a whole new world for me. So sometimes our limitations aren't there as a boundary to stop us. They're as a boundary to recheck ourselves. And so we can grow one step at a time. I remember my mom telling me, don't jump in the river of what ifs if you can walk across the bridge one step at a time. I thought that was the dumbest thing she ever said to me. But think about it. What if I could have that great marriage? What if I could have that great relationship? What if I could have a man who, when I came in and was physically upset, could wrap his arms around me and say, I love you, cry it out? What if I could have that? What if I didn't worry about things like I do? What if I had self-purpose? What if we can create this box of what ifs? Take the step, one step at a time, and you'll get to the other side. And what's on the other side is way better than jumping into the river of what ifs and being swept away. And he is right. You got to be willing to listen to advice of the others who climbed the mountain. And I'm telling you, her stop sign. Okay, let me explain something to you. When she was talking about the stop sign thing and she was telling me the story, I got a piece of copier paper out. I drew a stop sign and I was fixing to hold it up to Carl, and then I realized she just meant stop. Okay, but if the stop sign on a piece of paper would have worked, I would have gone and taken a road sign down if I thought it would work. But I learned from her to use the stop. Okay, now Carl's not as patient as Richard, so he wouldn't wait 2 hours to resolve something. But we use that stop sign, and I'll go take 5 or 10 minutes and get my head right. And when we come back, the rule is we can't yell at each other and we have to listen. And it's almost like a radio conversation when way back in the wind where they would say whatever and then they'd say over. And the reason they say that is because there was literally a switch that you flip back and forth between receive and transmit. And so when you were done with what you had to say, you said over so that everybody knew to switch the switch the other way so they could talk. And I don't care if we have to add over into our vocabulary. We're learning to talk to each other and let somebody finish without cutting them off, which has been way interesting. But we're learning to do that because both of us found when I would tell him, will you just be quiet and let me finish? And it was slam them, no, you be quiet. And then he would start to say something and I'd just be like, will you shut up? And he's like, no, you need to hear what I have to say. Because I would interrupt him. And we found quickly, well, actually over a long time, that wasn't getting us anywhere. We were getting half of the story or half of the feeling. So we had to sit there and learn to listen to each other. And we have to be able to put that stop sign up and say, hold on, you're not letting me finish. I'm not done. Over. And it's almost like you have to do that. Okay? You know, you have to walk away when you've had enough. Because if you don't walk away, like Stephanie, like Nakia, like we're all talking about, if you don't walk away when things are getting heated, nobody gets anywhere when both parties are worked up. Or when one party of the two is worked up. You don't get anywhere. And you might as well be talking to the wall. And you find that. But you have to allow yourself time to be able to finish the entire conversation without interrupting each other. And that's how that relationship where I want this gets better. Because right now, if you're interrupting each other, that's your limitations. If you are communicating where you're not listening and things get explosive, that is the current limitation of your relationship. That's the current limitation. Because no matter how much you yell at each other, you're not going to get any further. Okay, so that is the limitation of that relationship. Now you want to change it? You want to push it to the next level? Am I going to tell you that you're going to go from butting heads and screaming and saying hateful things, because we all do? I have vomited the mouth. Y'all know that. I tell you, I spew it right on out there. Okay? Am I going to tell you that you're going to go from this and the vomiting, screaming to having a 20 or 30 minute discussion that resolves things overnight? You know, and that's going to happen in one day? It absolutely will not. It will not. But what you're going to do is you're going to get to a point where you can start with, say, stop, I need a minute. You may go get a minute, you may calm down, and you may find that your conversation has now gone from 20 seconds before it gets to that point to a minute and a half. You still may not get it all, and you go, stop, I need a minute, and you come back. And over time, you're going to realize that if you just sit there and listen in the beginning, but it takes practice from both parties. Okay? Yeah, and she's right. If she says, why are you yelling? Or please don't yell, the response is, well, you yell at me all the time because we played the tit for tat game. Well, you did it, why can't I? Well, you did it, why can't I? It's just like standing there arguing about the damn keys. You're not going to go anywhere until somebody goes in and gets keys. So somebody's got to make the start. Because it takes two people to argue. So take a minute and walk away. Carl used to follow me around. That was great. Like in the very beginning, when I'm like, I need a minute, and I would get up and I'd walk away, and he was like, follow me around. I was like, just stop, get out of my bubble, right? And so when we did our first conversations on what I did that triggered him and how to start working on it, it was like, look, if I tell you I need 5 minutes, you got to allow me to have it. Okay, so I would go into the other room and I'd be like, I need 5 minutes. I'd go in the other room, and I'm going to tell you what, at 4 minutes and 59 seconds, he was standing at the door because I told him 5 minutes. And I had to be ready to go back in 5 minutes. Now, if I told him 10 minutes, at 9 minutes and 59 seconds, he was standing at the door. Now, if I tell him, I need to do this, right? I need 10 minutes, or I need a few minutes and walk outside, he gets it now. But that took a long time. And I'm telling you, you're right. When Carl would follow me around like that, I would lose my shit. Give me space in my bubble. Get out of my face. I let him into my personal space almost all the time. But there are times that I want that 3-foot personal space rule. You know, the personal space rule is simply this. You put your hand out in all directions, and people need to stay out of where your hand is in all directions. Literally, that's your personal space bubble. When people talk about what is your personal physical space, you put your hand out and nobody can come closer than that bubble. And he would get in it, and I'd be like, just get out of my bubble. You know? And so then it becomes, okay, well, I'm going to go for a ride. And then it was like, well, you're not going anywhere. You believe in me? Because they had such a fear of being left that didn't work. So when Nakia talked about the stop sign, I'm telling y'all, I took a piece of paper and I drew a little sign. I took the ruler and I was going to hold it up. Then I decided that wasn't going to work real well with him because he'd probably like throw it at me when I was doing it. And you know, it would not have been good. But now I'm just like, maybe stop. And it's very non-threatening. It's not like in your face like I used to be, stop. It's not. It's like, hey, stop. Just stop for a minute. Never tell him it's him. I need space. Because it doesn't matter who it is. At this point when I'm overwhelmed, I need the space. Okay, at this point when we're yelling and I can't process it out, I need the space. It may be working for him, it's not working for me. So don't go back in and say, stop, you need to calm down. Nope, stop, I need the space. Oh girl, I hear that too. I'm not yelling, I'm talking loud. But when you start to learn to bring it down, and I almost talk in a whisper when it's something important, one, he listens better, and two, if it gets elevated, we're only talking like this and we're not screaming. And so it does help, but it takes a long time. It's not an overnight cure. All right, so that's where we are today. I just wanted to kind of get you on learning some limitations, because we're going to delve into all these topics really deep starting next week and really start honing in on good tools to get you through. But before we do that, beginning of next week, so it might be almost all of next week, we're going to talk about the toxic in a relationship. There's some really things that are toxic in relationships and how to get the toxic out. Because there's just certain things that you've got to do in a certain order. You know, you need to know what that relationship looks like. Okay? You have to know that that's what it looks like. But when you go and you start knowing what that relationship looks like, then you got to know where the toxic goes in. Because there are things that we all do that create a very toxic environment. And we can't live in toxic. So I'm not just talking about your relationship with your veteran, I'm talking about your relationship with yourself. We do things to ourselves that are very toxic. And so that's probably where we're going to start next week is learning on the toxic. I think when you get what it should look like, and then I think when we learn what the toxic is, we'll come up with the compromise the next 2 weeks on how to get rid of all of it and go forward. Presentation of words, yeah. It is so important. And you when she says never say, when you say, Sue says never say you need to calm down. You can't give them orders. Okay? You can't give them orders. Raise your hand. I need some space. This is overwhelming to me. I need a minute. Because when you step away, it's going to calm them down. It's just the way it works. It takes a long time, though. All right, so, so you're welcome. I need to get you and Corey on a conversation, or either you on Thursday nights, because I can't wait to meet Corey. I'm so excited. So here's where we are. It is Friday. We're going to wrap up this week. I hope everybody has a great weekend. I will be pushing out all kinds of stuff. Yeah, Stephanie's right. Never be threatening. Make it about you if needed. Because it is about you. And this is weird. It is about you. It's how you feel. Okay, so you're not being threatening. It's how you feel. It's what their words make you feel. It's not them. It's not bothering them that they're yelling, because it didn't bother me when I yelled. It bothered him. So it is about you, and that's really kind of important. We will be pushing out all kinds of stuff on this initiative that we are doing. It's Project Your Voice. And by the way, project and project are spelled the same way, so I kind of thought that was cute that's what we came up with, because you know I'm a yeller, so I think it's great. We need good, bad, any experience you've had with the VA. I'll put all that out there today in very much detail. We need to get these letters in. And we want to know the good. I have an independent research team that is going to come in and go through all this information. So the sooner we start getting it to the research team, the better we are. This is the chance to have your voice heard. And my theory is always this. You can't complain about something if you're not part of the solution. So, you know, we can sit here and we complain that the VA did this, or the VA did that, or the VA didn't do this, or the VA did this, or they did a great job. And for those people who are in a system that the VA is powerful and is good at, we want to know that, because that system, you know, when we go in and start doing the research, we're going to be able to say, look, but they can do this in Boston. Why can't they do it in rural Georgia? Why can't they do it in rural Georgia? So we won't know without this research. And like I said, we have the stage. We've gotten to the point where people are listening to us, and it is time that we truly become your voice. So it's Project Your Voice. There'll be a lot more coming out over the weekend that I'll be working on, you know, like just add more stuff to our pile. Anybody who wants to work on that project, please message me. This is going to be a massive undertaking. So anybody who wants to work on that project, please message me. There is tons of things that can be done and tons of way that you can help. Let's see, what else do we have going on? It's a Friday, and I'm excited. And I'm fixing to go to the grocery store because I told my veteran he had to wait for me before I could go. I shop better than he does. So y'all have a blessed day. If you need anything, again, reach out. Don't forget, I'll do some one-on-ones if you need them. And we'll try to get everything straightened out this weekend. I've been super tired, so I'm going to be super busy this weekend. Again, Stephanie, thank you for your Wednesday. It is inspiring. I'm actually wiped my board off and started over so we can all see the board. Thank you again for that, because your message truly hit home. And I don't have kids at home, I have furry ones. All right, so y'all have a blessed day. If you need anything, holler. I'm Stacy. This has been Walking in My Shoes, and we're loving my veteran. Bye.